name's Owen, and I'm the Dungeon Master of our Return of the Giants 5th edition homebrew campaign.
Hi, I'm Ali. I'm playing Lyra, the Eladrin Spore Druid, and she is just a little bit obsessed with mushrooms.
Hi, my name's Simon. I'm playing the character of Ember. I'm a wildfire druid who's on a quest to be the very best there ever was.
Hi, I'm Dave, and I play Harry Harrington, the Harrengon, the roguish merchant with the heart of gold.
My name is Christian. I'm playing Bartholomew, the romantic dancing Owlin, Paladin of devotion.
Hi, my name is Matt, and I'll be playing Niles Silverwind, the Owlin, Way of the Sympathy Monk.
Hey guys, I'm Jared. I play the character of Threign, the boisterous frost giant, the Goliath, path of the giant Barbarian.
Hello there, lovely listener. This is just a warning to let you know that this episode of Return of the Giants may contain adult language or adult themes. Hello. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Greetings. Welcome back to the Lost Archives. We are here. We are playing Return of the Giants, the premier 5th edition homebrew campaign. Or should I say 5.5 campaign? 5e 2024? We've got names for it. There's no official one. So we are jumping back in very, very shortly. Couple of quick announcements to share. One of our players is running a teensy bit late. Jared will be here as soon as he's able to, which will be at some point in the evening. I'll play Threign until that point. Luckily, this is not a bad spot to have Threign potentially thinking actions through rather than doing. So there might be benefits for the whole group with Jared running a teensy bit late. In terms of other fun announcements to share, not a huge amount of crazy stuff to share. I've been compiling some of the recipes for the sort of D&D TTRPG themed cookbook that I'll be chucking together. It'll be like a series of YouTube shorts as well, and then I'll put them together in written form as well, just for a bit of fun, because I really like cooking. It's one of my favorite things to do in my spare time. And, I was playing around with some recipes the other night, including some, I'm going to call it halfling whey bread, which is like my take on a pita pocket cooked in the pizza oven. Holy shit. Pita pockets in the pizza oven. Thoroughly recommend. I only burned one horrifically, and that was the very first one. And then I learned kind of the technique and how quickly they puff up. It's literally like a balloon. You put them in straight away.
It's a pretty good ratio.
Exactly.
1 out of how many?
I think I did 8 total.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
8. Not too bad.
Right.
The rest were all very, very easy. And that's probably the main announcements to share. Josh, who is one of our lovely players on Monday with Curse of Strahd, and the DM for the TTRPG group Roll Together, we're thinking of setting up and doing a series of like DM discussions where we're going to talk through some of the changes that have come with the new rule set for 5th edition. There's obviously been some pretty major changes in some areas, some pretty minor changes in others, and we thought it might be a good chance to kind of sit down and talk through what are the main differences, what's changed, and that'll kind of be the launching point for a series of videos I'll be recording and releasing over the next sort of 6 to 12 months, which will basically be like how to get started, how to get running with D&D. Tips and tricks I've picked up. I'm going to start off focusing on character creation, because that's one of my favorite things to do. And I think it's a really fun sort of point to take a bit of a look at the new rules as they've come out and go through how you can use those rules and combine them with your imagination to create a character to play in a campaign. So more news will be coming out about those very, very shortly, but stay tuned. They'll be coming sometime in the next 6 to 12 months. That's probably the main announcements to share. Anything else fun before we jump in? Dave, how's the puppy going? You look a bit tired.
Yeah, no, she's going good. She didn't sleep well last night. She'd been wetting the cushion, so we took the cushion out because I read there's so much conflicting information.
Oh my
out
god!
there.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You know, bedding, no bedding.
Everyone's an expert, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Do you wake your
buy the
dog up at
vapor rub?
night to take him out to? Yeah, the vapor rub is amazing.
That's good.
It's not that she hates it; she just ignores.
Yeah.
it.
It's not like a deterrent in the form of like it causes pain and discomfort. It's literally just like no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was worried it would like rub against other things and the smell would spread around and she like wouldn't care for it after all. But like, no, she avoids it.
It's pretty good stuff, vapor
Yeah.
rub. You can use eucalyptus oil too. I found that could be quite helpful.
But yeah. The dog thing with nights is like the hardest part, I think.
Yeah.
And the
It's
thing
like-
is, it
Some
doesn't.
people
It's
say
not the
you
same for every
proactively
dog.
wake them out.
Yeah,
You take
it's
them to the toilet. Some say you don't.
yeah. But and
doesn't-
to be
she doesn't
fair, I
settle
don't think
well,
it is
and
a
she doesn't
one
settle
rule
with
for
the
every dog.
dog.
I think every dog's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So we tried a couple of
Everyone's
different
different.
things with Lumi before we found the thing that worked. And what worked for her
Mm.
was waking her up and taking her out. That's what suited her best, to the point where she slowly built up and we had to wake her up less and less and less. And now we don't have to wake her up at all. Well, we haven't had to wake her up for years, but like when we first got a puppy, it took like probably 6 months of like actually having to bother to wake her up before we never had to worry about it ever again. But we tried all the other stuff, and it's different for every dog. It is, I think. Maybe not every dog.
Especially smaller dogs, because they have smaller bladders. So
Yeah.
they have to go
Yep.
more. And then bigger dogs, you know,
Yep.
they go less, but like, you know, it's a whole
Yeah,
thing.
because I thought she'd wake up and she'd cry. Sure,
Yeah.
like, surely. And so
Not
no
necessarily.
crying. By the time she cried, she's already wet it. Like,
Yeah,
So she's
Yeah.
crying to say like, I want to get away from the pee so I can go back to sleep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, 100%, 100%. So
Yeah, figuring all that out is a challenge.
yeah, it's part of. I enjoy it. It's part of like the tinkerer in me that's really enjoying it. Like she learned how to give the paw within like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah,
she's so smart.
yeah.
So
That's great.
I was surprised by how quickly she picked those up. So yeah, it's a tinkerer. I'm loving it. But I'm just tired.
It's good. It's good parenting practice, I reckon.
Balancing work.
It is.
I don't know how people raise a puppy and work full time, not at home.
I don't know how.
Anyone
yeah.
who's done that, testament to you. That's amazing dedication.
Yeah.
That's,
I mean, I heard stories of people that would be like, oh yeah, like I just left them at home and I went for like 4 hours to work and then I came back and then I went back again, and I'm like, I don't know how you did it. Like
Yeah.
like pre-COVID, like before working from home was like a thing.
everyone did it, right?
How did you do that? Like, I don't know how you did that.
Yeah.
Like
It's crazy.
It's very hard.
We got Lumi during COVID, so like, I mean,
Yeah.
I left for
Yeah.
work, but Alice was there the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised Lumi doesn't have separation anxiety. Actually, that was a recipe for really bad separation
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah.
We dodged a bullet there because I can say we didn't do anything specific to try and curb that. We just got really lucky that she's because we've got Lucy. That's why she's always got Lucy there.
She's got a partner in crime.
I don't know.
Oh
Yeah.
God, when
Yeah.
Lucy goes, we're gonna be
Solution
insane.
to separation anxiety is just get a second dog.
Yeah, Lucy's 16, turning 17 at the end of this year. She's an old girl.
Baby. Aw.
Okay, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. That's I'm pleased that the puppy parenting is coming along. Not so pleased you missed out on a night's sleep. That's rough. Got a lot of empathy from me.
That's rough.
That's tough.
That's all right. I signed up for it when we got a puppy, so
It's true.
I consented.
You did. That's very true. Awesome. Well, let's do our recap. Let's jump into this. Unless there's anything else fun to share before we jump in. No, seeing happy faces, seeing concerned faces too a little bit. That's fair. We did end on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and
I was saying before, Harry.
We'll be fine.
Dave, I was saying before for Harry. If you haven't had a chance to look through the 2024 rule sets for rogues, I definitely would recommend it.
specifically the weapon mastery area.
Yeah.
I thought I had, but I will double back.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be
there's some
doesn't have to
really
be
cool
right this
stuff.
second, but there's some good stuff for you.
No, yeah.
Yeah, some really
I'm
good
pretty
stuff.
sure I had, and it's pretty cool. And it only helped the hybrid kind of duality between them.
Yeah.
Especially with the packs and the way that works now with the
Yeah.
invocations. So
Warlocks.
and learning another language. Harry, whilst being there, exposed to Dwarvish, learned Dwarvish.
Wow. How about that?
It's pretty
Maybe
good.
he is a genius.
Maybe.
Amazing.
Maybe. Could just be the prey drive kicking in, like, I need to acclimatize to this new environment right away. Just a
It's
rabbit
the
prey drive.
merchant. He
That's
does deals with dwarves and elves.
That's probably true. Actually, yeah, that's a good reason. Maybe
Yeah,
Harry
that's why I
just
chose elvish.
yeah, makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense. Awesome. Well, let's do the recap. Let's jump into the session without any further ado. The Tempest Adventuring Guild, a name now legendary across the lands of Nostea, has formed a brand new team. Lyra, Niles, Harry, Ember, Threign, and newcomer Bartholomew are exploring the vast caverns of the Underdark. Drawn below by rumours of stone giants taking over territory, it has come to light that the Duergar are providing the stone giants with slaves as part of a massive mining operation. After assisting the gnomes of Blindenstone reclaiming their fortress home from a draconic Behir, the plan is now set to head deeper into the caverns, territory known to be occupied by the Duergar and stone giants. After experiencing another giant dream, this one taking place in the stone giant city of Tonn Tennur, the group have now begun their descent into the Duergar chasm, en route to try and find this lost city. Tracking the edge of the Dark Lake to the deep fissure leading to the forge halls, the team cautiously made their way through the darkness. Partway down the narrow paths, Niles spotted a small fire being extinguished down a side cavern. Making his way back to the group to report this, soon Harry noticed the sound of snuffling coming from below. Emerging from the darkness, an enormous, white-furred, bear-like form crawled across the stone. The creature called out in a gravelly voice to the party, calling them bearskins, and demanded to know why they trespassed on Quaggoth territory. Sharing their goal of taking on the Duergar and stone giants, the Quaggoth led the team back to the nearby settlement to speak with the Quaggoth Thonot, a psionic shaman kind of thing. Looking into their minds, the shaman seemed to find what it was looking for, agreeing to provide the team with 6 Quaggoth trackers to help lead them below into the forge levels. Travelling with their monstrous guides down the edge of the chasm, the team found themselves above a river of lava, slowly flowing down toward a distant cavern full of enormous stone spires, the remains of the once beautiful giant city. With the understanding that heading blind into this area could be deadly, the team paused briefly to allow Bart to use his potion of clairvoyance to spy upon the leader of the Duergar, Obsidian Foot. Linking minds through Harry's Heartstone, the team watched the arcane sensor, as Obsidian Foot summoned a devil from the 9 hells, renewing some bargain which granted Obsidian Foot some level of control over the stone giants. With the magic fading, the team returned their attention back to the area around them, quickly realizing the Quaggoth guides were now gone, the bridge littered with the bodies of Duergar. The party rushed down the last few stone steps to the edge of the bridge, the sound of battle coming from further down the road. Arriving at the bridge, Niles, Ember, and Harry snuck forward to investigate the battle, watching on as the Quaggoth struck at the Duergar gatehouse, striking down some of the Duergar, but also seemingly aware of something coming and looking pretty ready to abandon this fight. Meanwhile, Threign, bored, used his axe and thaumaturgy to try and attract some underdark predator to unleash upon the gatehouse. His efforts proved quite fruitful. A hungry bullet, attracted to the vibrations, almost going for the 3 scouts until some quick thinking from the team redirected it away. Taking opportunity of the chaos, the team used shackles and chains to make it look like they had been captured, Ember using his Firbolg magic to disguise himself as a Duergar. Making their way to the gatehouse, the sounds of combat having fallen eerily silent since the unleashing of the bullet, the team was surprised to find the monstrous creature suspended on spikes of stone, and a stone giant standing before it. Slowly melting into the stone, the giant left the Duergar at the gatehouse, a battalion of armoured figures making their way across the bridge. The plan to infiltrate under the guise of having captured each other almost fell apart when one of the guards approached Ember and called out something in Dwarvish, the party suddenly realising Ember doesn't speak Dwarvish. Harry was able to sneakily translate enough for Ember to convince the Duergar to switch to Common. Revealing the presence of Bart to the Duergar, the team were quickly ushered across the bridge to deliver the cargo to Obsidian Foot, and that is where we left off last week. Pretty spicy moment, and very close to that falling apart and going very badly for you. I'll re-describe the scene at the gatehouse as you make your way across into the edge of Tonn Tennur, the stone city of teeth, the city of stone teeth. Below you, the chasm continues. This part of the Duergar chasm, you've mainly come down the upper levels of it. You can see below you the river of lava spiraling off to form this waterfall that disappears into the darkness below. This section of the cavern looks like it is split open, where a lot of the chasm around you and behind you looks like it's been formed probably by water and erosion. This section looks far more jagged and far more recent. The walls of the chasm are sharp and spiked. This would be fairly straightforward to climb. As you look at it, you can see from this angle, looking back at the walls of the cavern on either side, many handholds and sections of stone jutting out from the edges. Who would be the most likely? Probably Threign would be the most likely to kind of notice this. Oh, though Harry and Bart both have stone giants. Tell you what, Harry and Bart, could you please both roll me a perception check? Just a quick perception. 17 for Harry, 4 for Bart. Bart makes a lot of sense that your mind is focused elsewhere. As you walk across this bridge, this is the second time your feet have taken you in this direction. The first time you didn't know what was coming. This time you do. You know.
All the hollers and calls probably distracting as well.
Yeah, you know what lies beyond this second gatehouse. The start of the slave camps, the excavation sites, the coal pit. There's a lot of bad memories that you've tried very hard to push away, and probably in the last sort of week with the party, because it has been just under a week, probably in the last week with the party, you've been able to push those memories aside. They're more like nightmares at this stage, faded. But now they're all coming back, resurfacing in this moment as you walk across. That makes sense of the 4 quite nicely as you look inward rather than outward. Harry, 17. As you look over the edges of the chasm, this looks a lot like some tectonic event has occurred, and you don't even think it was that long ago. We're talking decades, maybe longer than that. As you look over the edge of the stone, it looks a lot like the shattered cliffs on the edge of the Obsidian Isle. One of the places you've traveled to for trade, down amongst the Tabaxi and Leonin, past the Shattered Isles, there's a cliff face on the Obsidian Isle. Very, very famous cliff face that was covered in gorgeous runes and writing from the time of giants. About 5 years ago, there was an earthquake, and the whole cliff face crumbled away and dropped into the ocean below, leaving this jagged cut edge. The walls of the chasm look very similar to this, almost like the edges have just crumbled and fallen away. I wonder if you've got any specific questions around that, Harry. Let me know now. Otherwise, I'll keep carrying on. But you get the sense that some sort of tectonic event occurred.
I think Harry sees this and thinks that, okay, the entire landscape of the city has changed. So he'd look around to see other, perhaps, changes that might be escape routes, or might be hiding holes, or might be good vantage points.
Harry, as you look, the city of Tonn Tennur, the outskirts of the city are just on the other edge of this bridge. The main bulk of the city is far in the distance. You can see the spires of stone rising from the floor and lowering from the ceiling stretch into the gloom of the cavern as far as you can see and make out in the darkness. The lights glinting to show structures even further beyond. But as you're getting closer and getting a better look at a lot of this area, it's becoming far more obvious that this has changed from when you saw it in the giant dream. A number of the spires have actually collapsed and fallen, and you can see even from here that they look to have been partially hollow, or at least mostly hollow, which makes sense. These were the buildings. These were used as homes for the stone giants. Hidey holes, you are going to have no issues finding hidey holes. If this city is even, let's say, 50% at capacity in terms of population, there are infinite places you could hide here. Buildings abandoned, structures collapsed and changed, rooms partially opened up. It's going to be very easy for you to find places to hide here. And escape routes, possibly the same as well. You can see that one of the spires has collapsed against the cavern wall over towards the west of where you are. If you were to scale the inside of that spire, and it happened to correspond to any of the natural paths or tunnels in the Underdark, that'd be a very easy way out of the city, a protected one too, as you climb up the inside of a building to avoid detection. You don't think getting out of the city is going to potentially be as much of an issue as getting into the city, Harry, in this moment. Particularly from where you were.
Just setting the scene real quick. Are we heading towards the city?
Heading towards the city of Tonn Tennur, specifically the outskirts of it. You can see the main spires, the very, very large spires in the distance, barely perceptible in the gloom of the cavern. Really, you're making out the lights across them, these little flickering flames, almost like stars, like candle flames, giving you a view or at least a rough outline of some of these spires. It looks like massive construction or massive excavation is currently going on in those.
So essentially,
caverns.
there's a secondary gatehouse that we're heading towards. We're on a bridge, and
So
then
there's
beyond that
two-
gatehouse is the gloom of the city. Okay.
Yeah, and it looks like so the first gatehouse you crossed over was the entry to the bridge. There's a second gatehouse across the bridge. Niles, from a tactical standpoint, you suspect the two gatehouses are so if one gatehouse falls, the second gatehouse can be
Of course.
utilized to either block off access to the bridge to give time to collapse it, thereby cutting off any attempt to.
Niles rations that this is a fairly standard sort of prison setup based on what we are in and where we are. That makes sense.
As you cross over to the second gatehouse, you can see that this gatehouse is still pretty well manned. The armored Duergar, about 12 or so in that battalion who pushed past you, now fortifying the gatehouse behind you, the one you just walked through. You can see this gatehouse hasn't sacrificed any of its members, any of the soldiers guarding it for the further gatehouse. This is staying very much well fortified. The gate is not currently... Oh, yes, sorry, you go.
Sorry, I may need a roll for this, but I was just curious, as we approach this second gatehouse, do these Duergar look better equipped or more, maybe slightly more elite in their appearance?
No need to roll. They look like they're about the same level of
About the
armament as the others. It looks like it's a similar contingent.
Good
Doesn't
to know. All right.
look any, no specialist equipment that you can see.
But similar to what you mentioned, where the way that I sort of think of it is before this point, wasn't distracting himself, but was like keeping himself busy. You know, when something really bad happens, midlife crisis, and rather than addressing it, you just give yourself work to do. So he joined up with the guild. He's been trying to help them with everything. He's still doing that at the moment, I think, subconsciously. And I want to be keeping track of the amount of Duergar. We know that there's a lot of slaves, a lot of sort of slave mercenaries, a lot of the miners, and we know that the Duergar numbers, as far as we've been told, are pretty low. I wanted to get a rough idea of how low that actually is to also gauge how many Obsidian Foot could legitimately sacrifice. Let's maybe use that as like a threat to the soldiers in the future. So we saw four were alive at the main gate out of
just
all
rushed
the
to
ones
join
that were
them. And then there's
murdered.
another 8 manning this gatehouse. So you're up to about, what's that, 20?
8. Okay, yeah, we are. Okay.
Do you want me to keep a
20
track?
Duergar
And I'll let
so
you know
far.
as you go. Significant numbers.
That
coming
would be
in.
amazing.
That's easy to do.
Yeah.
I have the numbers, so it's not it's not hard for me to share them. That's easy. Perfect. As you get to this level with the second gatehouse, getting to the edge of the bridge, anyone with a fear of heights, by the way, crossing this bridge, the blackness and the darkness that disappears below you is all encompassing. If you peer over the edge of this narrow strip of stone, very much I want you to picture the bridge of Khazad-dûm from the Fellowship of the Ring, about 100 feet long. So you have to kind of take like 70 steps to get from one end of this to the other as you just look down into the darkness below you. And it is blackness. Even that river of lava flowing off towards the left, you just watch as the light dwindles away into nothing as it disappears into the shadows below. Steam forms these kind of areas of almost what looks like clouds around as well. That makes it very hard to see through the haze. The water dripping down and flowing from the edge of the Dorcha Chasm, from the Dark Lake through the Dorcha Chasm, is immediately turning to steam as it encounters the lava. And so there's this permanent, very high level of humidity. Lyra, the edge of the chasm walls here, covered in lichens, ferns, and fungus. It is an ecosystem completely based around steam. It's beautiful.
If she gets a chance, like after all the combat's done and everyone's sort of safe, she is absolutely going to go just on a complete take a sample of this, add this to the quarterstaff.
I think Lyra needs to consider joining or getting a membership to the Society of Brilliance. It's very much sounding like there's some aspirations there for sure. Maybe that's what Lyra does after the campaign. If Lyra's still living by the end of the campaign, maybe the Society of Brilliance is where she's headed.
The Wyrens didn't really cut it for her, but mushrooms are much safer, is my thoughts.
Exactly. As you make your way across the bridge and through the second gatehouse, the dwarves eyeing you very, very curiously. A number of them, I think I even described at the end of the last session, a couple of them whistling out, going, "Oh, come on, birdie, sing us a song." Trying to sort of get the attention of Bart and Niles. Another one of the Duergar, as he sees you approach, Niles reaches out a hand and runs it through the feathers of your wing, just sort of like stroking goes, oh, God, come on, lads, we got to pluck a few of those. I could fill, 2 or 3 pillows with those. Be lovely. He sort of feels the flight feathers, which, Niles, you can't pluck flight feathers.
No.
As you continue through the edges of what looks like this Duergar camp, you can see that much of this place has been shaped and constructed for Duergar needs. Probably this was once the outskirts of Tonn Tennur. Maybe there were giant buildings here, but they've collapsed and have fallen and now have been rebuilt in the image of the Duergar. Metal has been used to prop up and combine with the stone structures to create this very ragged and very almost like contradictory architecture. Sections of stone with massive bolts slammed through the metal plates binding things together. All this very dark slate grey iron.
A question.
Yeah.
So we've gone on this journey from the first gate. Well, we're actually all the way through the city. As we've sort of entered this area and crossed this bridge and we're entering into this second gatehouse, Niles is probably looking for stone giants because where are they at?
Yeah. Niles, do you want to make a perception check while this carries on? If there's anything else anyone's else if there's anything else anyone else is looking out for, let me know now.
Similar, as we've been traveling this far, how roughly far have we traveled? Is this city somewhere that's like a couple of 100 meters or a couple of miles?
We're talking a couple of 100 meters now. You've crossed the bridge, passed through the second gatehouse, like bridge is 100 feet long. You've crossed into the second area, and you're entering into the outskirts of because the city stretches for ages. This section looks like it's because of the damage to this part of the city. It was hard to kind of see that this was even connected to Tonn Tennur from back where you were. It's only once you're in amongst it, you can see the foundations are still there of the stone spires. Lyra and Ember in particular, given your druidic backgrounds, you can see where beautiful flowing stone that looks very natural, the kind of, you've started to pick up on some of the hints of stone giant architecture, and it's very much this organic flowing shape to stone because they don't need to cut it, they can shape the stone themselves with magic. The Duergar, however, have cut and shaped, and so you can see where the bases of what was once probably a beautiful spire, the Duergar have taken that foundation and converted it into a blacksmith's forge, or have converted it into this storage room, and they've carved away and hammered at the stone, slapped these massive metal braces on to hold it all up, and it's almost like it's been tacked onto the corpse of this city is the best way to describe it.
A bunch of blue tack and duct tape. It sounds so ugly.
It's almost the equivalent of that. The Duergar, this is 100% functional. There is no love of form here. This is function only. The Duergar architecture is pure function, 100%, or at least it is here. This seems like a very, very efficient system, not a beautiful one. You're not here for the architecture, shall we say? Niles, 11 for your eye out for stone giants. Interestingly enough, this part of the camp, no sign of stone giants, and you're pretty confident they would stand out. As you look around. All around you, though, in this section, as you pass through into this early section of the camp, a main street clearly designed for giants, easily 40, 50 feet wide, carves down towards the city of Tonn Tennur. And as you look down, you can see other streets and other avenues branching off from it. The stone, however, has been partially cracked, and you can see the age has worn away the city that you remember from your giant dream. On the left and right hand side of you, this main avenue is dominated by what almost looks like barracks for the Duergar. You can see that right at the front gate, the Duergar have really colonized this area and have turned it into an armory, a training grounds, and a barracks for the soldiers. But you begin counting up to 30, then 40, then 50 Duergar as you pass through this section who are out and about looking, starting to... This is not a small group as Obsidian Foot kind of pitched it. This is much more than that. As you're looking through, you get the sense Obsidian Foot was very much underplaying to the devil what his current situation
So he's probably not as silly as he is making himself out to be.
My worries were either, or thoughts were either tens of Duergar and hundreds of slaves, or hundreds of Duergar and thousands of slaves.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so just to get the picture right, because obviously this was a giant city, so it's probably a mishmash of like old giant architecture with like this retrofitted.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. You can
okay.
see that in the background, as you look over towards the left and right, away from this main street the Duergar have colonized and occupied, you can see the ruined city of Tonn Tennur stretching out. Even on the outskirts here, where the spires are much smaller and aren't as grand, we're not talking hundreds of thousands of feet high, stretching up into the top of the cave. These spires are maybe 100 feet tall, but they've crumbled and broken, revealing this almost like honeycomb structure inside the stone, a central swirling spiral up the middle, and this honeycomb-like form creating rooms and natural courtyards, avenues, and things within the stone itself, within the stone spires. As you look at them, they're not solid stalagmites or stalactites. These were shaped and formed to create this spiraling honeycomb structure within. Probably once housed many, many giants, but now mostly stand empty. These shattered and broken sections, you can see have clearly been picked over and scavenged. And as you pass through a little bit further, walking down another sort of 200 feet down this main street, you begin to see the first of the slaves of the Duergar. Deep gnomes, for the most part. Oh yeah, but
I was about to say, as we're making our way through, I was just about to ask that actually. Are there any other races intermingling freely with the Duergar? Like not slaves? Or is it just Duergar that seem to be the free ones?
No, so at the very front, mostly it's Duergar. As you pass through and begin to get a little bit deeper into the Duergar camp, I'm going to call this area like the Duergar partition. They've basically taken off a section of Tonn Tennur and turned it into their own. And they've been here a while. This has not been done overnight. This has not been done in a year or two. This has been here for a while. The Duergar have colonized and settled here for quite some time. As you get a little bit further into the Duergar partition, you begin to see other people as well. Not very many others. A handful of drow walking through the Duergar encampment, most of whom have a Duergar guide with them. There's a group of 3 drow you see past you, dressed in these flowing robes, spider symbology all over, covering the breastplate. One of whom has these fangs tattooed on their neck up towards the chin and underneath the ear, leading in front. A woman with 2 male attendants following her, heads bowed, shoulders sort of hunched, holding the train of this gossamer silk, almost like shawl that she has, this long gossamer silk shawl. Not like a wedding shawl, more like a very long sort of cape that they are holding to keep off the ground. As she follows a Duergar attendant. It seems to be leading her off on one of the side streets. I'm going to say you overhear a little snippet of conversation.
Lady Celias, please, come along. Don't dawdle here. I do not want you to spend too much time around the slaves.
No, one does not want to sully themselves with the sight of such wretched creatures. Let us be into the trading post. There is much our peoples can discuss. As she passes through, just walking in front of you, not even looking at you, watches one of the male attendants kind of catches the eyes wide as he sees 2 birds, a rabbit, a giant frost Goliath, and then sort of like as an afterthought, sees Lyra and goes like, elf. As you continue moving down the main street, Ember kind of taking the lead here in his Duergar disguise. You begin to see the beginning of what look like scavenging parties, mostly Sverniblin, mostly deep gnomes, teams of about 4 or 5 Sverniblin, all of whom are bound together not by chains, but by these strange collars that have locked around their necks with fine threads binding each of them. Metallic in nature, almost this sort of silvery, slight reflective metallic link, but you watch as one of the sections of gossamer thread gets they're roughly about 2 meters long as well, so they can only sort of be about 2 meters apart. As one of the threads gets taut for a second, you watch the gnomes both panic and move towards each other really quickly, terrified of letting this thread get tight for a moment. You're not quite sure why, but you haven't seen this one before. This is for
I was going to say,
this is for the scavenging party. Not needed for the miners. You could all be in a pit mining and they could watch you. This is for the scavenging groups. This is something you haven't seen before.
Okay.
One of the Duergar.
Oh,
sorry, you go, Lyra. Yeah, what was that?
Sorry. I was just going to say, does it look like electrum wire? Like it's like a mechanical, electronic-esque kind of setup, or does it sort of look like it's more like a tripwire where it's like a razor blade is in the actual?
Oh yeah.
And it's like if it just gets pulled, it's just
Like garroted.
Do you want to make a quick investigation check for me, Lyra, just as you sort of peer at it as you move along?
It gives me the feeling like they're walking around with like a grenade, and that's the pin.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, Christian. Lyra, as you watch the threads, it just looks like steel thread. It's been tempered very, very well. You can see this is clearly strong. It would be very hard to cut. And as you watch, you can see it goes into these tiny holes around the collars. And right around the edge, you can see little scorch marks. You know the Sverniblin have been able to create and use black powder. This blasting powder, they sometimes refer to it as. You know the Duergar also likely have access to this as well.
We already know they do. We were told so by Gobbledy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know for a fact the Duergar have access to blasting powder and have had access to it for a little bit of time now. Yeah, Lyra, you think that these devices, if that string is detached, it'll go off.
And so, just from to refresh my memory, sorry, from the black powder, from what we've heard about, it's just like black powder here. Yeah, it's just the powder that you know what the gnomes have told you about black powder. You can find black powder on the surface. Firearms, while not very common in Nostea, do exist. The early stages of firearms. The reason they haven't really taken off as much is just because of the presence of magic. Magic is not uncommon in Nostea. And so firearms don't have the same level of power that they do in our world. Like they comparably, a flintlock pistol and a crossbow, there's not as much of a difference between the damage they can cause.
Versus a fireball.
Yeah, and so the development of firearms hasn't really been as pushed or as breakneck. Artificers have played around with different variations and uses of black powder. On the surface, we're talking flintlock pistols and blunderbusses are the most common firearms, and even then, they're not that common. The reason being, they're also really expensive to make. A crossbow, very, very simple, very easy to make. Any Fletcher or blacksmith can really throw together a crossbow in a short amount of time. You need a lot of metal, high quality metal, smithing time. Guns are hard. Guns are hard to make. So black powder's not really as common on the surface. The gnomes of Blindenstone, I think, did mention that there's different levels of power that can be applied to black powder depending on the mixture of it. I think it was Gobbledy. I think it was Gobbledy sort of spoke about that they've been working on different recipes, but you guys didn't go into too much detail with the gnomes on that. There wasn't really much cause to. It wasn't really that interesting.
I think did they give us any? They did, right?
Don't think you guys ended up taking it with there was the storeroom, but I don't think you guys actually ended up going and getting any.
The reason why I'm asking is it from what we've heard, it's not magical water resistant black powder.
No. It's not magical and water resistant. No, definitely not. It's abuse water once again has another use in Ali's mind. Do you know what's funny? It's funny you mentioned that. I saw a Reddit conversation between a DM and a player. So the player wants to basically just be a water wizard, and so they want to kind of create water, only have one spell, and they just upcast it, and it does different things at higher levels of upcasting. And I was thinking, like, the easiest way to do that is just to retexture and reskin some of the existing spells that already exist at each level, and it'd be super easy to do. And I kind of love that idea of like an elementalist style player, like an elementalist style character, where like you commit to one thing and you do it so well that it becomes your entire skill set. I don't know, maybe I'll play around with that as a subclass for sorcerer, the elementalist, someone who draws upon the different elements to do things around that.
It kind of exists in the Draconic bloodline.
Yeah, it's a little bit in the Draconic bloodline. I kind of like the idea of like playing around with the different elements and changing them up a little bit. It's like changing a fireball to do cold damage, for example. Being able to change the elemental damage that's afflicted with certain things. Maybe spending sorcery points. That'd be kind of cool.
I was going to say, don't forget the transmuted
wizard does that. Yeah, the problem is though that like
no, the sorcerer meta magic transmuted spell.
Oh, it does too. Yeah.
Change in elemental damage.
Good point.
It does cost a lot though. I do like your idea of something that's just for free.
Yeah. I'll play around with that later. Maybe if any of you guys start... Well, actually, if we're heading into some more elemental territory with Frost and Fire Giants, if anyone takes any sorcerer levels, we'll play around with that. Yeah. So, yeah, nothing special about this black powder. It's not magic. This is science and chemistry, which means water is a huge problem for igniting any of this black powder for sure. As you look, you can see the gnomes have these backpacks, leather satchels of varying degree of quality and condition. And as you watch the Duergar, who's sort of looking over them, goes, "Right, you shite. Turn out your backpacks, what'd you get?" Just they will begin lowering their backpacks, opening them up and slowly removing items. And you can see them pulling out very giant-looking items, fragments of metal that are clearly either the electrum that you've seen used in a lot of giant tech, or this very interesting kind of brassy copper kind of color. The metal that Lockie's mostly made out of, you guys haven't really had a bit of a deep dive into what that metal is. It looks a lot like copper and it kind of ages with that verdigris coloration of copper, but it seems to be much stronger and much more... it seems to have a lot more compressive and ductile strength than copper does. And you can see the gnomes pulling out these fragments of metal, a couple of them pulling out shards and broken bits of what, Lyra, you immediately recognize as the spider-like constructs you saw up in Laspar.
Oh, yeah.
Fragments of like mandibles and legs that they begin piling out. You watch as the Duergar kind of picks through them. One of the gnomes, however, you watch as they reach in and pull out this strange spiraling section of crystal. Almost like a geode that's been shaped, where the outside section of stone is still present, but the inside gemstones are being formed, shaped, and sanded down to create this spiral-like pattern on the inside. You watch as the gnome sort of holds this up, head bowed again, looking very, very deferential to the Duergar. As the Duergar kind of pauses and looks down, he goes, "Where did you find this?"
It was over in the section of stone spires towards the west. The section near the fountain.
Near the fountain? Aye. Pass that here. As he takes it very gently, he watches the Duergar holds it up to the light and then summons in his hands these little balls of coloured light. Anyone who's a spellcaster recognizes dancing lights instantly. And he watches the lights begin to spiral around. You see inside the crystal spiral, runes carved, illuminated by the shadows of the lights. You watch as the Duergar nods. Hey, good. Good. Right, you lot. You'll be back there again tomorrow and the next day, but for now, this is excellent work. Go and have your rations. Don't stray too far from each other. Make sure you rest up. You're going to be working a double shift tomorrow. Exploring this cavern fully. We need to extract anything that looks like this. Forget about the metal for now. I want more of this. He watches the gnomes sort of bundle up their bags and begin walking away at Duergar, clicking his fingers as another group of deep gnomes, as well as a very, very haggard-looking wood elf, are dragged over and begin gathering up the sections of metal and carrying them away down one of the side streets. While that's going on, did anyone have any questions?
The runes. Obviously, the problem is Threign does, but we don't have Jared. Does Threign recognize?
I can be Threign. Yeah, I can be Threign. Which is Threign looks up.
Does Threign recognize if those are giant or dwarvish runes?
Those are giant runes, 100%. I don't know exactly what they say. They were moving the lights too quickly for me to have a look, but those were giant runes, or I'll eat my axe.
Okay, that's important. Thank you, Threign. It's whether or not this is important for Obsidian Foot or for the
No, we
giant
can't just let them
or...
walk off with this. This is giant. This should be with the giants. Dwarves cannot have this.
And they won't.
I think it's time we take off these stupid things and go and take these fuckers down.
Maybe not in the...
I've got to be true to Threign. This is what he would say. It's not my fault.
He would do it.
Left and right as we're like in the middle of a courtyard. Maybe soon.
Ugh, you'll say soon, but I get bored.
As you I'm assuming you've all kind of stopped to watch this go down. You watch as one of the Duergar, who's currently sort of leading on this group of slaves with the wood elf. You watch as he pauses, look up, and goes, "Oi!" Turns over towards you, Ember.
Oh.
I just turn around and nod.
As he points at your little group of slaves behind you. Harry, you hear in Dwarvish.
Ah, fresh meat. What about this one? Are they good at carrying?
Which one did he point at?
He looks like he's pointing towards Threign.
Okay. Yeah. He's asking if Threign is a good pick mule.
I'll turn around and laugh and just shake my head and then try and keep everyone walking and moving. Because are we still heading towards the...
Yeah. You're still walking down the main
camp.
street. Because you guys don't know exactly where to go. You were told to take at least the birds to Obsidian Foot and the rest of the slave camps, but Ember, you don't really know where those locations are. Like,
I don't know, but I assume that those gnomes that just dropped their stuff off that were linked up are heading towards that direction. So I'm going to start following
could be
where they're going.
Could be,
So-
Ember. Very nicely done. As you sort of laugh and you watch as the other Duergar sort of sees you laugh and shake your head and goes, "Oh, this lot." Sorry, you hear Ember. Harry, you hear.
Oh, more for the digging, no? Ridiculous.
Why am I doing Threign's voice? Sorry.
More for the digging.
Sorry. Can't help it.
Aye, more for the digging. Ridiculous how much time they're spending on those fucking holes.
Is what you hear, Harry.
Oh, he's complaining about the burrowing.
That is how Harry would phrase it, yeah.
He would phrase it that way.
At this point, though, like he's complaining about that, but is he actually approached us, or is
No.
he just saying that
It looks
for
like he's
the-
overlooking his group of slaves, the ones he's supposed to be taking care of. Currently, it's a group of about 8 Sverniblin and the wood elf, the really haggard-looking male wood elf, who is very spindly and clearly underfed. He's been here for some time.
Okay, yeah. So look, because the fact I clearly can't reply back without him knowing that I can't speak the same language. Like, as I said, I was just going to laugh and I was going to start pushing people towards where those gnomes are and just kind of giving Harry a bit of a sly thumbs up because I've got no idea what's going on otherwise.
You hear Ember.
Oh, sket gut.
Harry, he says, "Oh, fuck you then."
He never mind about the last one.
As you
He
begin,
said, "Have a nice day."
Oh, that
lovely.
very,
Let's give him a
very
smile and
kind.
a wave, Ember.
As we walk along, and I'm like relatively out of earshot, and I try to teach Ember how to say yes and no in Dwarvish.
Yes, absolutely. Yes and no in Dwarvish is 2 words. Very, very easy to do. Now, it may sound like I am speaking fluent Dwarvish. It is all the illusion of speaking gibberish. I do not have a set word for yes or no in Dwarvish. Shall we agree on one right now as a team that we are then going to have to commit to for every campaign I ever run for the Lost Archives?
Yeah,
or
sure.
shall we decide, and this is my preference personally, or should we decide that Ember does know the words for yes and no now, and in those moments we'll just accept that that's what it is?
I like that one.
Why don't we just use Russian? Why don't we just use actual Russian?
Why Russian specifically, Dave?
Oh, I thought they were very Russian. Isn't that the accent that you're using? Well,
I've been kind of using like a very harsh. I've been using a very harsh Scottish, but clearly not a good Scottish, which is a shame.
It's a very harsh Scottish accent.
Does this sound Russian
I'm
to
very
you?
good
Nate?
at Anglo accents.
That's fair. Do you know what though, Dave? That's very fair. And I have been throwing a lot of
That's pretty
accents around. And I've kind of been using more of like an Eastern European for Threign, because that's kind of what Jared's chosen. It's a bit more of like a Slavic style accent. And then for the Duergar, I've been doing a much harsher Scottish, with a little bit of Irish thrown in to kind of confuse some of the syllables.
You're probably thinking Threin's accent more than...
Yeah.
To be fair, I did
that's
also
probably what I
speak
hear when
as one of the dwarves using Threign's accent just then, literally seconds ago. So to be fair, like,
Oh yeah, so you're actually just gaslighting me.
I fucked up for that one. Just once out of all the dwarves that have spoken to you. But yeah, I'm gaslighting you, Dave.
Yeah.
You finally have revenge for Avatar Legends in this moment. It's a very
So I teach Ember
major
yes and
plot
no.
point that Dave's character was a gaslighter.
Is where we're sort of traveling to, are there a lot of other individuals around? Or,
So
like,
this
is it pretty
side
quiet?
street that you've taken off, you're no longer walking down the main street. You watch as the Sverniblin begin taking off down one of the side streets. This one a little bit thinner than the main street and far less worked and adjusted. And I don't want to say cultivated because that kind of implies a level of care that's been put into here. Let's say adapted. Far less adapted for Duergar needs. This section looks like it actually heads slightly downhill. The floor is jagged and broken, and as you begin following them down, you can see that this section has actually collapsed and crumbled away, creating a natural fissure. Maybe once magma flowed here, you can see sections of stone that have melted and cooled, creating these very organic-looking flowing sections, almost like rivers. Again, for Harry in particular, there's a distinct sense that something happened here, volcanic or tectonic, quite a while ago, that has changed the landscape of this city significantly. And as you begin heading down the section, you can see that a lot of the stone and metal is replaced with zirkwood. Zirkwood huts stretched over with bits of leather. You pass by what almost looks like a stables, a number of these very large bison-looking creatures. Very hard, scaly-like purple skin, long curled horns. Ember and Lyra, could I get a nature check, please? Bart, you know what these are, but Ember and Lyra, could I get a nature check? Niles, probably not so much your area. That's a natural
Chat is
one
going
from Ember.
crazy.
Ember, you know what these are. 100% Ember. These are bison. They're just dark bison. just cave bison.
Yeah.
These creatures wouldn't be anywhere like mountainous.
Deep growth. Yeah. Lyra's 100% deep growth.
Yeah, but would they be?
You can-
I'm assuming they wouldn't be.
You can sometimes find deep growth wandering out at night on the slopes of Balmia, the main home of the mountain dwarves. Because the mountain dwarves use them as pack animals and use them for a lot of the heavy manual labor to move a lot of the big parts of the city. They do sometimes let them graze out on the slopes in the evenings and in the night, the deep growth. But yeah, probably not something Niles would have as much experience with, the deep growth.
They're not like mountain goats of like the Eris theocracy.
No. There are dire goats that you know of, Niles. Enormous mountain goats with 2 sets of curled horns on each side of the head, so 4 horns total. That scale the near impassable mountain passes of the mountain ranges near Drolmethion in the elemental states, right down near the south of Nostea. They are not to be trifled with. Dire goats, they will eat anything.
They scream like the goats from Thor Ragnarok.
It's tempting to have them do that. I'm gonna say that, yeah, in rare cases, when the night is clear and the new moon is in the sky, sometimes the males will call out their mating cry into the night air. As they attract a mate.
That's actually terrifying.
For a little bit of just craziness on the side, the Twitch chat has decided that Obsidian Foot, because his anagram is OF for OnlyFans, that he got into a deal with the devil by selling pictures of his glass.
No,
foot.
he sold his foot and he's had to replace it with an obsidian one. The devil was like,
So
no.
it's kinda
I
I
want your foot for my pleasure. No. No. Absolutely not.
Whoa.
Absolutely not.
I will lean up to Ember, to beside him as we're walking. Maybe
Big goats.
we need to know where his office is. Harry was right before when he asked like a way of trying to figure out where it is pinpointing in the city. Maybe you could use me for that. I'm happy to take a hit for the team, but if you were to say that you've brought me, he'll definitely want to see me with his own eyes. My guess is one of the guards may lead you and me to his office. Communication's going to be a little difficult, but an idea?
But they did say that both Owlin, so I think it would be pertinent if I accompanied you on that journey.
Do you want to potentially sacrifice your wings, though, Niles?
I'd rather not. That isn't going to be.
It might be
an
an excuse to bring you back, though. That's for us to come back to collect you.
For me to come back, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you know what you're doing, all right?
I'm not. I'm just worried about him wanting to exact revenge for my escape by taking your wings.
So what's the plan? What's you going to go there and just
He'll give me
in?
He'll give me a beating or some sort of a kind. I'll probably be put back to work, and at least then we know where his office is.
I don't like this idea.
Or we could wait till he tries to take Niles' wings and just beat the crap out of him.
But if he just takes Niles by himself with guards that aren't Ember, and how long does your disguise last for, Ember?
I've only got this for an hour, and at this point we've been traveling for insert Owen's length.
25 minutes. 25 minutes.
25 minutes. I've got maybe a bit over half an hour left to go.
This probably is a good part to maybe talk real quick. So we figure out where Obsidian Foot's office is. We could get rid of him. What about the rest of this? We're meant to make contact with the stone giants, and I haven't seen any yet. And we still have the slaves. Are we doing anything about that, or what?
I would assume that the gnomes that we were just seeing that are heading
You're
back
still
to
following,
camp.
yeah.
I mean, they said that they said something about digging back there. I think that's what Harry mentioned, at least. I'm sure if those gnomes are digging a hole somewhere, if they can get away with digging one that's slightly off-centered to get out, I'm sure that's what they're doing. Maybe you guys can find out what they've been up to while we're gone.
I mean, that terrible contraption they had around their necks is a bit problematic, though.
I might be able to do
Lyra.
something about that, I was just going to say, but also I really don't like the idea of splitting the party. I think that is just a horrible, horrible idea.
I just don't know how we're going to track down where he is or get an audience with him. Other than I did have ideas of possibly creating some sort of a riot, but I'm worried about innocents getting hurt in the mines. I don't want other people getting injured. I'm happy to take a lashing if I need to, but I don't want more people being hurt.
So can Harry have a look around? So most of the city is abandoned. It's a big city. It's only a smaller party of like these guys here.
100%.
Is there a building with all the lights on that's central that looks like it could be Obsidian's Foot's office?
In this area or further, like deeper into the city? The Tonn Tennur?
Is there a bigger building with bright lights on?
Harry,
in
as you
like...
look into the darkness, you can see probably 30, 40 spires covered in lights deeper into the city, like far away. We're talking like deep into Tonn Tennur. In the section where you are here, there's really none of the massive towering spires. They've all collapsed or been broken. But I mean, as you look up and around, you can see there are larger buildings that have been colonized by the Duergar. There is probably one building that kind of stands above a bunch of the others. It's been almost tacked onto the outside of one of these spires. The back half of the spire has caved in, but the front part and the central spiral are still intact. And you can see the central spiral's been converted into a staircase and is being used to access this upper building that almost hangs overlooking much of this Duergar partition.
Because the building that we saw him in was not a giant's like room. It was a room made for a normal person's size.
Yeah.
Right?
There was no
Yes,
windows. It was made for dwarves.
If Thraign's willing to bet here eating his ex, I'd be willing to bet that he's probably in that building over there, overlooking his minions.
Well, he may work there, but his office didn't have any. What I remembered was it didn't have any windows. It had that long hallway that led to a chamber. It looked like more of a entrance to a palace. A chamber that then leads into a hallway with many rooms on either side. It seemed like some sort of like an audience area that you would meet him.
I mean, this is an old stone giant settlement. It could be that they've just, sort of caverned out underneath sort of the tower still and sort of use that like an entrance, maybe.
It could be. I just remember with my father, and whenever people came to visit with the Heiress Theocracy, there was that large central meeting room, a courtroom of sorts, a throne, and then behind that, there was then all of the hallways and passageways that the actual family members used, and then deeper inside bedrooms and the such. It feels like what we saw looked like that. That central area with the 4 guards, the chamber, is probably where he meets what was her name? Sileus, the woman with the fang tattoo, meets people like her, and then obviously does his dealings in the back area. And I feel like that would be a place of importance, especially seeing the size and scope of this. You are right, Harry. He definitely has a place that he wants to watch over everyone and get off over it. But I feel like he definitely has enough self-importance that he's going to be somewhere regal.
In any case, I agree with Lyra on this one. I don't like the idea of splitting the party, but if we do have to split the party, I cannot in good conscience let you go alone. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's understandable. I'm racking my head trying to think of ways to meet Obsidian Foot, get to see him, because all of our plans, you mentioned other things we're trying to solve, freeing all the deep gnomes, waking up the giants. The giants and Obsidian Foot are sort of hand in hand. He mentioned that stone that he has and the fact that they're seeing through it. If we take the stone, no illusion, no control over the giants. Fix themselves.
I did have another thought, actually. We remember during the clairvoyance little bit that we did there, Obsidian Foot was after some of his warriors for some sort of deal with that devil. I mean, we have spotted quite a few of the Duergar warriors already, but if we were to keep eyes on them, they will eventually be called into that room, no? We could follow them.
That's if we are freely allowed to roam. We're being taken to the slave quarters. Trust me, I know it's difficult to escape from a place like this.
That's a good point.
We don't have any locate object or anything, do we?
We do on that part.
Well, we could use that. Perfect.
You could locate
On
his
his big purple foot.
I will say, I do want to find his office one way or another to both sate Harry's thirst and also I don't want to take funds from the Deep Gnomes if possible. I feel bad about what I asked in Blindenstone, but I do feel like we need the funding that adventuring and all the likes of what you all do and my own future goals. I don't have a family to back anymore for after this, and if I'm going to confront them, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing a chest or two overflowing with gold in his office.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm always down for getting more gold, but you know that if you come back to the guild with us, the guild will take care of you, right?
No, I understand that, but it's a bit much to be like, hey, could I have a couple of 1,000 gold pieces versus stealing it from a sack of shit that ripped my wings off?
I don't know. I mean, the Tempest Guild is growing in reputation, and if they find out that you're an heir to the heir of theocracy, they may be more willing to part out their gold. Such alliances are hard to come by.
Especially if
I also think it's pretty dirty money, so we'd just be cleaning it, really.
I am not against the idea, just to be clear. I would love to steal that money.
I get you. We don't want to risk ourselves. If we have a chance, we have a chance. I get where you're coming from.
I think if Harry gets the chance, he'll make sure one way or another.
If I get the chance, we get the chance.
I like this.
I don't know why the previous arrangement had occurred, if it might be because of Harry, your amazing forgetfulness. It's a perfect talent of yours. But is there a reason why our thief doesn't have the bag of holding so that he can...
Oh, yeah, we got two. I got one here.
Oh shit, okay.
Harry opens up and he just shows lots of trinkets that he's just picked up along the way.
He just reaches in, pulls out shit, puts it back in, reaches in. Yeah.
This hairpin's for picking locks. I have 3.
Oh, don't worry, Bart. I often forget that fact myself.
Okay, also giant carrot. That's right. There was a giant carrot in there as well.
I did have a quick thought of a plan as well. I have a spell to compel people to speak truthfully, if we can use that on Obsidian Foot.
Harry steps away.
I remember during the I Harry weirdly for a second. I also remember during the conversation that you bring up, Niles, with our clairvoyance. The devil mentioned that there would be a circle in his office to kill these people at. That's physical proof. We don't need to convince guards. We can just fucking show them. And furthermore, even if it's hidden with some sort of Swift-Nerblin-like magic, he's a devil, obviously. We've got Harry's glasses. We have things needed to prove this. It's just how we can implement them. I'm not sure. I just wanted to put that forward to the group.
You're suggesting some sort of insurrection, then, perhaps?
Yeah, and even if we don't get the deep gnomes on our side, questions of how do we get all the the Duergar on our side? If we can call some sort of a civil war while the chaos is erupting in the city, get the slaves out.
I have a similar idea. I am a bit concerned. We still don't quite know what's going on with the stone giants. If we can figure out what's happening with them, we might be able to win them to our side.
I wouldn't want them to get hurt, just like the innocent, see if they are under control. And with everything we're learning about Anam and this world and Hadar, we need as many allies as we can get.
So an insurrection between the Duergar, because we're happy for them to kill each other. I think that is a good idea. I think that will take time, though. I don't know if that's something we could rustle up in a day. That will take some time to organize. We'll have to think about this.
A quick question. I'm not sure we discussed this, but do we know what the slaves are digging for? Are they just cleaning up the city for the stone giants?
When it was me, I was only digging for coal to power the furnaces. I don't really know, to be honest. I saw Electrum there before. Do any of you recognize what that weird copper was? Or even the crystals with the runes?
Well, the crystals was something that I hadn't seen before, but the copper pieces were much like the clockwork machines we saw in the Spire. Definitely giant make, if it's anything to go by, but...
Do you know the name of the ore?
I believed it was just maybe a bronze or copper, nothing too crazy, I don't think.
He went as happy about it as he did Electrum. Electrum's nearly as worth as gold. Why would he go so happy over just bronze?
And it's lasted. I mean, if this is from the time of the giants, this bronze has remained untarnished and uneroded and unrusted for hundreds of years. It's not bronze.
My metallurgy is a bit lacking. It could be some type of alloy, perhaps? I'm not sure. Giant make, though, so you know it's high quality.
Harry, you're dealing always with, like... Are you in the black market? I know that you have a finger for things.
Oh, you black, white, grey, purple...
Not really a finger, more a paw.
I was just wondering if you've possibly come across rarities like that in some of your previous heists or even sales. Or even trained possibly with...
I don't know what you're talking
weapons.
about. But has Harry seen any on the market? Is it like...
Harry, could you make me I'm going to say history check, but with advantage, given that you would absolutely be keeping an ear to the ground, pun intended.
At 20.
It's not. It is.
I was just about to say, I think Niles still has a couple of loose random metal pieces from the Spire in the bag holding too.
Harry, natural 20.
He's literally got some in his bag of holding.
Not so much carried around with him right now. Harry doesn't need to. He knows Niles has got some fragments. But Harry, you have heard whispers. And one of the reasons you were out near Last Spire was to see if you could get your hands on some of this metal. This was a secret mission you were kind of assigned. This is one of the reasons why you traveled out near Last Spire. There's no name for this beyond what has been described to you by the metallurgy and blacksmith expert of the Thieves Guild, and he was referring to this as enriched alloy. Some sort of...
Enriched what, sorry?
Enriched alloy. Yeah, some kind of magically infused metal that ages but never weakens. It seems to be very, very old. How to make it is not really understood, and you need to get a furnace insanely hot to be able to melt it down and do anything with it. I love watching the moment as Christian's like, oh, I know why I was mining for coal now. To get it...
It all makes sense now.
As Harry is talking this, I will produce the metal fragments.
They call it the giant's metal, just mainly because we don't know how it works. They said that the blacksmith couldn't melt it, so it must need a pretty high temperature. But it's worth a lot. It's
actually now that you Now that you mention it, I was holding on to a couple of the metal pieces actually from the spire. You can have a look for yourself. And I pull out a piece.
As he pulls out a piece, would Harry know roughly per gram how much it's worth?
So the thing is,
previously
right,
we've just had metal scraps that we now realize are worth the value of our party.
it's very speculative because at this point, Harry, the Thieves Guilds know that they know about this, and there's a couple of buyers they've got lined up, and those buyers were willing to drop down quite a lot of gold for not a huge amount of the metal. The problem is
Harry puts on his glasses.
Yeah.
And checks his notes of all the selling prices and grams that has been sold in the last 3 years, and gives an average.
As you're
and he takes his glasses off and puts his notebook away.
Yeah, and pulls out a small set of scales, weighs them really quickly as he's walking.
Okay.
He's got his traveling scales.
So
yeah,
it's pretty dense. So the weight's a bit off-putting because if I said a green, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a decent chunk.
Niles, if you wanted to update
Sorry,
the
it's
entry
tiny,
in your
it's tiny.
character sheet to fragments of enriched alloy, you may now give it its correct name.
Or the Giant's Medal.
Excellent.
Yeah, or Giant's Medal's fine too.
Keep dubbing that. Dave.
He's really trying to colonize that name. The Thieves Guild Blacksmith was referring to it as enriched alloy, but Dave, if Harry's going to try and name this Giant's Medal, he absolutely can. There's probably
Harry genuinely only heard Giant's Medal. He heard Giant Medal worth a lot.
That's fair. Makes a lot of sense.
The fragments that Niles has with him, Harry, these could be melted down to make probably a dagger or a short sword. Maybe I'd probably say like a dagger with a bit left over, or a short sword. Parts for a crossbow. Like the metal's useful for what can be done to it, and because no one's on the surface has kind of figured out exactly how to melt it down 100% yet, there's still an ongoing investigation into how to utilize this metal more effectively. The fragments Niles has got with him, probably worth about 80 to 100 gold pieces.
I'm going to update that too.
You may absolutely update that in brackets. 80 to 100 gold pieces worth.
Cool. Because I originally had 37 copper pieces and 15 silver pieces.
Because when you thought it was bronze or copper, yeah, that's how much it was roughly in your mind. That's how much it was roughly worth.
Yep.
You got to remember.
I think Harry.
There you go.
I think Harry pulls out his eyepiece, magnifying, taps it against his tooth. Yeah, I can attest to its quality.
It's excellent quality, Harry. I was just going to say, you got to remember, I'm often speaking to you as your perception, as your subconscious, as your thoughts, as your. I'm always doing it through the guise of your character, and that's why each of you get often slightly different variations of information, because it's through the lens of what your character thinks or what they experience. So yeah, Niles, it was only worth a couple of copper and some silver when it was bronze, but now that it's not bronze anymore, now that you realize it's something far more valuable.
Oh my! You know, Bart, all of this finding material, melting things down, creating perhaps weaponry. You know what this sounds a lot like? We know that the Duergar are trying to battle the mountain dwarves in Balmian. It seems like they could be readying themselves for war, which is something that our people are pretty good at. That's what comes to my mind. Arming their soldiers, arming their people.
Well, it makes sense that they need two things, obviously, or three things, I guess: manpower, gear, and route, a traveling route. They've already got the men. They're getting the gear, and Blindenstone and the minecarts, I'm certain, is the route that they're going to be using.
Makes sense. They have the access. If they have access to the tunnels, if it's compromised, then who knows what they could do.
Luckily, we shut that down, so that should hamper the plans. But
well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but they do have stone giants. I mean, if they remain under their control, I mean, it's no small feat for a stone giant just create a tunnel.
Correct. Well, hopefully they can't move the metal, because I did with the deep gnomes dismantle the actual rails themselves and the carts. I'm not sure if they're metal benders or just earth benders. But as for the giants, I still feel like if we can get this stone, that will fix the problem. Obsidian Foot seems to almost be monarching them. I don't think that the other Duergar have much say in the matter. They almost seemed afraid of that stone giant at the front gate. the one that killed the Bullets.
It's a good point. In any case, I think we should continue forward.
I've assumed you're still walking this whole time. Maybe a brief pause as
Yeah.
Harry quickly checks the weights, but I've assumed you're continuing following this Firbolg.
So let me get this straight. We're probably going to go meet with this obsidian fellow, but at the same time, we should probably be getting word on the ground as to what's going on.
Which as Niles knocks over a small vase, sort of as he stumbles past, freezes and looks down in horror as the vase sort of tumbles and rolls against the ground. A little bit of black powder spilling out. The remains of probably what was once a full vase of black powder now only has a few grains left in it, as you expect the explosion.
If we can figure out maybe some word on the ground, what the sentiment of some of the guards or what the Duergar might be, we might be able to use that.
I feel like that's we're coming. It's the one pro of us splitting the party. I do feel the same worry of that on that end. But if we have three of us together and then three of us together, but that's a perfect cut down the middle. The three can stay in the mind, and Lyra, Harry, and Threign, and find things out from the other people there. Try to hear what's been happening on their side of the fence, and possibly garner a revolution with the courage of Threign and his might, and the planning of Lyra, with Harry digging, and the three of us can hopefully, head to Obsidian Foot and find out where it is, and start maybe trying to put a plan into motion to unveil his guise.
We could all go and just see if maybe they turn us away. It's
That's
just
a good point.
imagining another wingless companion by the end.
I was about to say I don't want to leave you alone, but at the same time I don't want to lose my wings. So if they do want to take my wings, I will not let. I will.
100%. I'm not going to. No. Oh, I guess Lyra can try bringing the entire party. We are a unique bunch. You saw the looks from the drow. Maybe Obsidian Foot will want an audience with all of us.
That's a good point.
Just plain ignorance. Just sort of say, oh, I assumed when you said that I should bring the birds to you that you meant all of the new prisoners.
We could try that, and then I guess if he does not want to see all of us, or if he sees all of us briefly, it's the same as what's going to happen to me and Niles. He'll send all of us back to the mines, and then we can talk with this fifth Noblin.
At least we'll know where you are then. We won't be running around, thinking the worst, going, oh no, where have they gone?
Okay, well, if that's the case, maybe we, in the best of your ability, talk Dwarvish, Ember? And try to ask...
I can try my best. I mean, at this point, we were heading down towards the slave camp, so I'm not sure if we start heading back up the other direction, I'm assuming, because
maybe
it was a side street.
idle chatter.
I'm happy to try it.
I think I have an idea to instigate the conversation in common. Give me a second. We're gonna get into acting opera, and I'm going to yank on our entire chain gang and shoulder barge into Ember, trying to as best I can knock him to the ground. As that group of Swift Noblin are near us, and they're being led by that Duergar, I'm thinking he's going to be the one that can probably point us in the right direction. I'm going to try to shoulder barge into Ember, shouting, "I'm not going back to Obsidian Foot. You're not taking me."
Can you make me a performance check, Bartholomew, as you smash into Ember and throw him down? All of you, the chains and manacles around your necks sort of pull against you as you
16.
all kind of stumble forwards. 16. You hear a shout from up ahead, and then the sound of running footsteps. And as you look up, Ember sort of underneath Bartholomew at this stage, you look up to see a Duergar running towards you, the one who is leading the Svirfniblin. As he dashes down the street, you watch as he begins growing in size, expanding and enlarging himself as he runs, his footsteps going from this patter to this boof, boof, as he gets slightly larger than Threign. And as he runs towards, he grabs Niles by the scruff of his neck and lifts him up. You watch as Niles is lifted up bodily. All of you kind of like being pulled up slightly as your necks are attached to Bart's.
I'm going to yell out, how dare you, bird, try to attack us?
I'm not going back to Obsidian Foot. You're not taking me.
Shut your fucking beak, bird, before I rip it off your goddamn face. Vile loader. You lot.
I think we should take these lot to Obsidian and see what he wants to do with them. It looks like we're going to hang him here, but we could do that.
You don't need to bring the others. They're just heroes from the surface world.
Shut your fucking beak, bird. This is the last time I warn you. There'll be consequences.
Are you off the ground?
He's
at
still
this point,
holding
or is it
Bart
only
off the
Niles?
ground. No, so he's lifted up Bart. He's lifted up Bart. And so Harry,
I
he's
think
lifted up Bart.
Niles.
No, sorry. He's lifted up Bart bodily by the
okay.
neck. Niles, Threign, Lyra, and Harry, particularly Harry, Lyra, and Niles, who aren't very tall. As Bart is lifted up, the chains that are connected to your collars that you've put on lift you up slightly as well. Bart has been lifted off the ground. All of you, particularly Harry and Lyra, who are quite short, you feel this manacle tighten around your chin, and you have to kind of stand on your tippy toes and you're kind of being a bit choked by this.
As he says that, he's getting angry, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's getting furious.
Okay. I just want to push it over the edge, hopefully, and get him to make a rushed decision as he sort of threatens me like one last time. I'm not going back. Just take me to the fucking coal camps already.
You get maybe halfway through that sentence, Bart. And then you are slammed bodily into the ground. I'm going to say the grapple to pick you up. Let's have a quick peekaroo. That'll be a 19 as he grabs you, lifts you up, and then slams you into the ground. That is going to be 6 points of bludgeoning damage as he just buries you, lets go, and then steps on you with his foot. Not stomping, but pushes your face down into the dirt and the stone with his foot. The rest of you, again, the collars are still connected. You find just forwards and down slightly as Bart is thrown to the ground. Threign's going to resist this. He's going to try and avoid being pulled down by the collar because
he would. 100% he would.
We know Threign wouldn't want to deal with that. Let's do a quick. I'll do a quick.
I think we actually have as well the order, so we know how far away in the link he is, I guess.
Yeah, he's right at the end, so it's going to be easiest for him.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
I definitely wasn't behind Threign.
I think Threign said he was.
I thought Harry was.
Oh, Harry's behind Threign. Yeah, apologies. Harry is behind Threign.
Yeah.
Sorry, Harry. You are the road.
So I'm fine. If Threign's fine, then I'll be fine.
You're okay, Harry. Yeah, don't worry. Strength saving throw for Threign. That's a 20 for Threign. Harry, you're completely fine. No problems at all. But this is more of a problem for you as you find, as Threign refuses to kind of bow his neck, the manacle cuts into you, and for a moment, you can't breathe until Threign kind of looks down, notices this, and you watch as he very slowly bends down so that you can breathe again, just the slightest bit. The Duergar turns towards you, Ember, goes,
No. What were you saying about Obsidian Foot? Does he want these ones, does he?
Well, I know that he does. It was this one at the front in particular that I think he might want to pluck feather by feather off of him, especially now.
I can understand
is his foot still
that.
on top of?
Yeah, he's still stepping on Bart's face.
So as I say that, I'm gonna lift his foot up a bit, like the guy's foot up a bit, and
As soon as you go to lift his foot, he steps back and lets go. Like he lifts up his foot.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm gonna grab his beak and then like try and pull his face up. I gotta play the role. Like I can't.
Yeah, sir.
And I poke him in the eye with a rusty fork from my backpack a few times. Yeah.
So, saying that, be like, that's the last time you're going to be pushing us around and turning around to the other Druid going like, can you lead us to Obsidian Foot now? I want him to. I want everyone.
I've got my own group to take care of. What the fuck? Deal with it yourself.
I'm gonna try to push it over the edge. I'm going to like MMA, WWE, or WWE more. I think fake. I'm going to try to like fake headbutt Ember in the face.
Can I have another performance check, please?
I mean, still holding the beak at this point, so that's
Yeah.
going to be interesting.
13. 13. But in your mind, this like from the audience's perspective, this is going to look awesome. The problem is he's not seated 20 meters away watching this from a sunken seat looking up at the stage. He's right in front of you. In fact, he's looking down. And as you sort of go to slam your head forward, Ember's still like holding your beak, kind of like moves past you, which is Ember kind of like flounders a bit and pushes back. You don't think the performance looks as good up close. You suspect this one was better. The stage combat you're trying to pull off, way better from a further distance.
Look, I'm still struggling.
You're struggling in a different way, right?
I turn around to the big one. I'll be like, I think you've rattled the bird's brain. He's trying to peck at me now. Look at him. How pathetic.
Oh dear.
Aye, this ain't the greatest specimen of bird we've had down here. Where's its fucking wings?
No, but I mean, yeah, without the wings, he's not very much to look at. But again, I think Obsidian needs to see this, and judging by he's a bit of a handful, I think those Verniblin look like they're kept on a very tight leash. I'm gonna laugh and point to the
Aye,
the
one of them
collars.
blew their fucking head off 2 days ago. The rest are too terrified to walk more than 2 paces from each other. It's perfect. This lot fucking going anywhere. And you lot, as he looks at the rest of you, if you're in my crew, take heed right now. Those collars, packed full of blasting powder. You move too far. You move too slow. You fail to keep up with the group. Kaboom! You're fucking gone.
How about this? Look, you stay here with them for the moment. I'm quickly going to tell those Verniblin exactly what you would be saying, which is go back to that camp, and if we hear one explosion, I'm going to come back and individually pull every single one of those collars.
Fucking hell, Ember. Can you make me a persuasion check with advantage? Your performance through this has been absolutely flawless. There is nothing suspicious in your statements, apart from the use of common that he could pick up on, but given that you're kind of keeping the group included, this is flawless. 16 and a 7, we'll take the 16. You watch as the Duergar kind of nods, looks over at the Sverniblin, collared up and goes,
I just didn't fancy pissing over at Syrian Foot's door. Not today. He's expecting a visitor later. It's put him in a foul temper. We're behind on some of the quotas, which means you lot are gonna have to work twice as fucking hard.
as he looks back over the rest of the group and then turns back towards Ember again.
Aye, we're not chunking out the armor as quickly as we need to. Going soft on the slaves. Gonna have to pick up the pace a bit.
Well, I mean, with the big ones here like that one, I'm sure that we can pick up that pace. But
I think we might put him on bellows, have him pumping the bellows down in the forge halls, and you get the heat up higher. The coal's not quite hot enough, and the lava's not providing the sustained heat that we need. Aye, you look like you've got a bit of meat on your bones. I think we'll put you to work in the bellows, lad.
As he looks up and down Threign. Threign does not respond. Just doesn't even look at him.
Okay, well, with all that happening, I'll be like, I'm just going to head to those Verniblin. I'm going to tell them now that they have to head back, and you can accompany me to Obsidian. So I'm going to walk off quickly. I'm not going to even give him a chance to respond back at the moment.
Oh, nice. I was going to say, because you can see him hesitate and you just walk off. You watch as he pauses, and then Harry and Threign both hear him swear under his breath.
Ah, Laldiga's bones. This better not come back and bite me.
So I'm going to walk over to the Sverniblin that are there,
Yeah.
and I'm going to obviously back facing towards them. I'm going to yell out, "You," and then whichever one, or they'll all turn around and assume.
Yeah, you watch as they all kind of
walk up
turn
close.
very slowly, not making eye contact, keeping their heads bowed, but just very much. They have not moved since the Duergar ran away to chase down you lot. They are just
How much taller am I than them?
in your Duergar form, maybe a foot. It's not much.
Maybe
in
a foot.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Oh no, sorry. Let me
walk
rephrase.
up.
That's an illusion. You're still 4 feet taller than them. It's just that the illusionary version of you, for
Yeah.
disguised self, keeps
Shorter.
you looking shorter. Yeah. You haven't physically changed your height.
I'm going to walk up to them, and in a very soft voice, I'm going to be like, "I need you to go back to the camp," and I'm going to. So I'm imagining I've got imagining a Duergar cloak or something like that. And
Yeah,
I'm going to
you
pull
chucked
out of
on
my
some of the
pocket.
clothing, yeah.
I'm going to pull out of my pocket one of the what are they called? The diamonds or the crystals that I was given at the from the royal rooms.
At Blindenstone, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if they'd actually recognize them or not, but I'm essentially going to say, I need you to go back and get ready to try and escape soon. But you can't tell anyone.
Ember,
The-
can you please roll me 2 dice? First one is a persuasion check with advantage once again. Second one is a D100. We're going to see if any one of the gnomes recognizes the cut of that diamond. This is, Simon, you're on fire tonight. This is very well handled. 11 and 19. We'll take the 19.
19.
This is very nicely done.
D100.
There's a worry that they just think that this is like full on like Far Cry 3, some sort of messing with the mind.
Or-
But it also
even-
could be
Yeah.
what's to say that he hasn't like stolen it?
Yeah,
right?
there's a lot here. Like even if Ember's really persuasive, they're not necessarily going to believe him. Like the diamond could just be a Duergar being like, "Ha, stole your jewels." Like there's no guarantee here. As you say that, Ember, you watch as one of the Sverdniblin sort of pauses, freezes for a second, hearing your words. Turns, looks first at the diamond, then up, not at your face, at your like your waist area, because you're currently disguised as a Duergar, and that's where your illusionary head is. As it sort of looks up, you watch as this female Sverdniblin. Bald head, pointy ears, very sort of soft features. You can see a large scar running down from her temple down across her head and curving around towards the base of her spine. As she turns up these very bright blue eyes towards you and looks at the gemstone, she goes, "You've been to Blindenstone. It still stands."
We can discuss that later when we break out. I need to go back now, but I need you just to prepare. If you have any
Why?
tunnels or anything like ready
Why
to go,
are you helping us?
I haven't got time to go through, but we're here to help you. We will be back. Just let everyone know to be ready.
Ready for what? What's the signal?
I'm sure there'll be lots of fire. Just look out for that.
She just nods, and then you watch as one of the other ones goes, "No, it's a trap. No, Lisa, no.
No.
This is from the vaults of Blindenstone. Only a deep gnome knows how to access these. He's with the gnomes of Blindenstone. You're not a Duergar, are you? This is an illusion."
It is an illusion, and I've been sent here by Gobbledygook and Noose.
Nice.
We're
What
going to
Name
be
drop. Perfect.
Disguise self as well. Once people know it's an illusion, they can like make an investigation check to look through it.
Yeah. They can.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that they've asked that question and Ember has sort of revealed, you watch as, unfortunately, Lisa missed the investigation check, but at least the gnome with her, one of the other deep gnomes, the older male gnome, sort of like pauses, nods, squints, and then goes, "You're a tall fuck. Okay. Yes, done. Thank you. And with that, they turn and begin moving, looking browbeaten, looking like they've not had any conversation with you other than an abusive...
I'm just going to yell out faster, and then I'm gonna,
You watch as the shuffling increases by like 10%.
all right, and so I'm going to walk back to the group, and I'm assuming at this point the Duergar stand there.
Before
I'm
we do
going
anything
to-
more, I do want to jump back and see, while you were having that conversation with the Sverdniblin, Harry, Lyra, Bart, Niles, as you're alone with the Duergar, you watch as he kind of scratches his beard. Like, so just for physical description as well, while he was rushing in, it's probably fair to assume your characters weren't paying too much attention to him. You can see that he actually looks fairly young for Duergar. His beard is actually quite closely cropped. It's only sort of down to the very top of his chest, where you've seen many of the Duergar have a much larger beard. It seems to be kind of a mark of pride and status to have a well-cultured beard. He has woven a couple of gemstones into the very short sections of the beard as well, little tiny fragments of gem. The armor that he's wearing, very, very makeshift dark iron armor. It doesn't look like he's actually wearing anywhere near the armor that the guards at the gatehouse are currently clad in. And it's at this moment, with the knowledge that they're collecting the metal, collecting the enriched alloy, they're melting it down, they've got an enormous furnace complex. You haven't seen a single Duergar dressed in that armor, or using weapons made of that metal. In fact, you've seen no sign of that metal amongst the general Duergar population that you've encountered at all. That would occur to all of you in that moment. But yeah, as the Duergar kind of like looks down and scratches at his beard for a second. Goes, hope I get you, as he points at Threign. And then at Niles. You too. Be good to have you on scavenging duty. You could lift up those heavy sections and you could flap through your little flappy wings. Get stuff that we can't get from some of those higher up spires. Like we have to get a big bit of thread so you don't blow your fucking head off, but I think we can get one long enough for you.
Unless Obsidian Foot has a chance to take my wings as well. I look solemnly over at Bart.
Aye. Be a shame. Your wings make you useful for reaching some of those upper sections. If we can get you on a long enough thread. Maybe some sort of ankle collar or something.
Why would you even need us? Or are you not good enough friends with the stone giants for them to just open a pathway for you?
What? You... what do you think's going on down here? We're doing our own work. The stone giants leave us alone. They're not our friends. They're scared of Obsidian Foot, that's it. I fucking hate you.
I'm gonna inside check that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. This is going to be 12. Niles, I mean, he seems to believe what he's saying.
Okay.
only Obsidian Foot can control the giants. It's not like he's putting them to work in the fucking forges. No.
Really? I mean, I would have been surprised. Surely they would have been able to find the best deposits of coal and whatnot to, for maximum efficiency.
Elf, right?
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Something like that. Fucking pointy. I'm gonna teach you a really valuable lesson. And you look like you could use to learn it the most. This lot, he's already had his wings cut off. This one's probably gonna have his wings cut off soon. But you there's an important lesson here. I think it's vital that you learn it sooner rather than later. But it's really only for you. Come here. Let me whisper it to you. It's just for you.
Gingerly comes closer.
Oh, Lyra. As you lean in, he punches you directly in the face.
Oh, no!
Why did you lean
Sorry,
in?
coming.
Lyra, does a 17 hit you?
No.
It doesn't hit
As
you.
this has been happening,
Yeah.
quick side thing, a interaction within an interaction.
Yeah.
Bart wasn't saying anything. One thing that wasn't on Bart's mind wanting to do, and this might be the perfect opportunity, was ask Harry if he could spot any keys to steal. If the Duergar leans in for a punch, can I have been having this conversation with Harry, looking for keys,
sure.
and then as he goes for the
100%.
punch,
I will
if
just
we
grab a
see some,
stealth check to see how quiet you are being having this conversation with Harry. I am going to lower the DC because the Duergar is very much distracted by his sadistic delight in causing pain in others.
because this is conversational, not moving. Can I not have the disadvantage of
Yeah,
play?
you don't get the disadvantage from your armor. Sorry, yeah. So you're talking, yeah. So it's not with disadvantage.
Straight
Yeah.
roll.
Yeah, just a straight roll.
Oh, no!
That's a 6
dear.
for those playing along at home. I love the idea of like there's a natural pause in the conversation as he like goes like come here, and that's the point where Bart's like, because Bart's like kind of like paying attention. He's having this conversation. He leans into speech. Bart goes, "Get the keys, Harry." He watches the Duergar as there's this pause. He watches the Duergar kind of pauses for a moment, looks up at you lot, looks at Lyra, goes to punch her, and his attention being distracted is why the punch fails to connect. That actually works out quite well. It's at this moment, Ember, that you begin to reapproach as you see the Duergar go to punch Lyra.
Do I hear what Bart says?
Yeah, it's a 6. Yeah, for sure. It's pretty fucking loud.
To cover that and seeing him looking directly at Bart, I'm just going to go up and I'm going to just, I don't know, like open hand, just smack him in the back of the head.
Oh my god!
Ember, could you make an unarmed strike against Bart?
Wow.
How do I roll that? Is it just a,
So just a D20 plus your strength.
so like a strength?
Yeah. You could do just
Sorry?
strength.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
That's
hate
absolutely
this.
fine.
I hate
That's a
this.
3. Ember, you just gently stroke the back of his head. No, it's more a miss.
Oh.
As you go to strike, Bart kind of like moves just out of the way, just like not intentionally. As Lyra goes to move to duck out of the way of this punch, Bart kind of has to move a little bit with her because of the chains and manacles. Ember, it's right at this point as you go to strike him, Bart kind of moves with Lyra's chain, and your hand just sort of goes past his face. But you just watch as the hand just goes past your face and then back again. Just really, and then Ember sort of like look down. The other Duergar guy sort of watches this, goes,
Stop moving, the lot of you. Fucking stop moving.
right.
I think we need to get these ones to Obsidian Foot now. Do you want to lead the way?
I guess we better. Come on, you lot. Watch them. I don't want any fucking funny business.
DM, how long a...
Can Harry actually see any keys?
Make a perception check or investigation check, please, Harry. Bart.
And also, what's his weapon?
The weapon that he has strapped to his back looks to be some sort of hammer. It looks like it could be held one or two-handed, very large, stocky block-like hammer.
and
Well, that's
my
annoying.
question was the disguise self, how far through of it we are.
It's only been another 10, 15 minutes since then, so you've probably got about, 15, 20 minutes left, Ember.
20 minutes is 25
Yeah,
minutes.
20
yeah.
minutes left.
Like, kind of-
pretty fine on that.
Like,
I love the idea as you
plan
walk
is-
into the room, go, Obsidian Foot! And suddenly you're a Firbolg again.
But then we beat the shit out of Obsidian Foot. Right?
Obsidian Foot, I've come to bargain. Disguise
That's
jumps.
That's like plan B. If everything just goes to shit, we just beat the fuck out of Obsidian.
Anyone seen it? Oh,
Is
sorry,
actually, I was going to say, I've actually got, I mean, I mentioned it before we came in, but I've got the cloak on technically underneath that turns me invisible for an hour. So my plan is, as soon as my illusion goes to drop, I'm going to try and excuse myself from the room, turn invisible, and then try and stealthily follow along, because that's all I've got left to do at that point.
Yeah.
So,
Not a
anyway.
bad plan.
Beating on Obsidian, I just imagine like the JoJo meme of like everyone on the boat,
Yeah.
oh no, in the room, and then the guy drinking wine, and then he joins another last second,
Yeah.
kicking on that dude.
Any one of them could be a stand user.
Yeah.
I'll just climb onto like Threign's shoulders or something like that, so that way they don't hear footsteps, and I'll just try and hold on.
That's actually kind of clever.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we will need to make sure that we have time to get everything off of Ember's body.
As long as it's not my corpse.
Oh,
Yeah, okay, cool. It sounded like...
You mean out of
Sounds
the
like
bag of
he's dead.
holding he has strapped to his waist is kind of the vibe
Yeah.
you were going for. But
Yeah.
what you actually said was more horrifying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna loot that body. As you begin following along, the Duergar leads you back away from the direction you're currently headed, not directly back towards the main road, instead taking an immediate left-hand turn down one of the other side streets. As he walks forwards, you can hear him kind of muttering to himself every so often, looking around. Occasionally, as other Duergar walk up, he gives them a nod. One of them you just watch as he makes this hand sign with his fist over his shoulder, and the other one returns the hand sign. It does not look like a friendly hand sign. As he kind of like pulls his fist up and out, this is definitely some sort of dwarven middle finger equivalent.
I thought it was like a salute.
No.
Remember that.
As he pulls his fist up and
Salute
down,
of some kind.
it's definitely not a. It's you watch as they sort of jeer at each other, making this. It's not a salute. Oh, Harry, perception check of 9. Nah, keys on his belt. It's a clean belt, Harry. He's maybe keys in a pouch or something hidden away, but he's not just wearing them on his belt for any of the slaves to grab. I mean, he's around Sverdniblin, deep gnomes, who are known for their like very careful carving of gemstones, the dexterity that they possess for very light, careful work. He's not going to be wearing keys on his belt around Sverdniblin. That is a dumb thing to do. They are going to be away somewhere safe. If there are keys at all, maybe these collars do have some sort of magic to release them. Maybe there's something else involved. You don't know, Harry, but no keys just strapped to his belt that you can take away.
Well, our collars don't need keys, do they?
You don't know. Maybe the collars do need keys to be released. I mean, if there was a way to release the trigger mechanism, a key would make sense, something to turn so that you can move a latch into position so that when the thread is removed, it doesn't trigger the detonation sequence. Or maybe a bit of metal to come in and trap the thread so that it can be removed and not immediately detonate. I mean, Harry, as your mind kind of turns, there's a number of ways this collar could be constructed to prevent tampering.
DM, one final thing. I do want us to get there as soon as possible. As we've done a lot so far in this span.
I'm also anxious for you to get there because I'm sitting on top of a rather large bombshell I'm really liking. I want to end this session on.
Final thing, I just want to quickly have a look as we're traveling. Isn't even just numbers of Duergar. I'm still keeping an eye on numbers of Duergar.
Oh, yeah.
Not many more since then. You're up to about 45, 46. The main cluster of soldiers were all at the front gates. The groups of slaves have only ever had one Duergar in charge of them because they don't need more. These collars, at least on the groups that are out and about on the surface, the scavenging groups, what are they going to do?
The question that I pose is taking a look at their armor.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering back to the Duergar that we found in the Myconid camp. Are any of them wearing that same enchanted star metal?
Very, very good question, Bart. It looked much more similar to the guards that you saw at the gate. A lot of that armor was very well made, likely was meteorite iron from the looks of it, the way it kind of glistens and holds the sheen. These Duergar who are in the caverns beyond in the Duergar partition, no, it's much more burnished iron, this like shadowed iron that they seem to be using for most of their armor and weapons. It looks like but you get the sense that this meteorite iron they've used, probably they don't have a huge amount of it. It's being reserved for the people who need it. Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering if he was like a possibly unique, like the prince and the cloak we found, one kind NPC.
Not quite as
unique.
unique.
This is more like an elite guard, something that's rare, that's common.
Yeah, maybe. So I'd say, but as you've been keeping an eye on the Duergar, you've seen maybe 4 sets of this armor, no more than that.
Okay.
And it's not a full set. It's only ever just been the chest plate, just over the chest. No other parts of the armor have been visible.
Pointed that to Harry. Yeah. If a fight breaks out, grab those off of their bodies. They're all enchanted, magical metal plates.
Maybe enchanted. They just look the same make of the metal and the same kind of sheen.
I'm assuming they are.
It's going to be a shock when they're all cursed. No, as you begin making your way down through this narrow street.
They're actually wood elves?
Yeah. As you begin making your way down these series of side streets, you reach a crumbled section of spire. The central spiral within the center of the spire is on a lean, about a sort of 20-degree lean as it sort of hangs over. I shouldn't say 20-degree lean because it's at 90, so it's like 70-degree lean from 90. It's 20 degrees off as you come up to it. And you can see that there have been some handrails put in place of metal, and it looks like this is used as a way to get up to some of the upper sections of the Duergar partition. As you begin making your way up the spire, the Duergar in front pauses for a moment, shakes his head and goes, Stop, fucking stop moving. As he looks back at a lot of you.
Hold off for a moment. We got company.
You watch as gliding across the stone, as if it is barely there, a stone giant moves through the city. Their steps are quiet and silent as they seem to almost float over the surface of the stone, their feet occasionally moving in like this stepping formation, but gliding through as if in very shallow water. And as they begin moving through the town, you can see the stone giant looking around, eyes wide, seemingly confused. You watch as they step over a group of Svirfniblin's slaves, the Duergar who's with them kind of looking up and carrying back, pulling the slaves out of the way of the stone giant's footstep. As the stone giant kind of stumbles for a moment, this fluid, graceful movement pauses as it looks down, seeing the Duergar and Svirfniblin, and kind of like reaching out as if to sort of grab one of them. You watch as the Duergar reaches forward and slams its hammer forward, striking into the finger as the stone giant pulls its hand back and looks. Begins to sort of look around. On the back of its hand, you see embedded into the stone a very familiar crystal, encased in enriched alloy. And it's at this moment, all of you suddenly realize the crystals you've got in the back of your hands, that's enriched alloy that is encased around this, along with electrum. The outer casing is all enriched alloy. As the stone giant kind of looks around, confused, you hear it speak, the voice echoing through.
Is this still the dream? But I am awake. I am in darkened. As it looks around, there's a sudden commotion, and you watch as striding through the streets, a group of guards dressed in very fine breastplate. This verdigris copper color. Two guards in front, two guards behind, and striding in the middle of them, walking with a little bit of a limp, slamming his hammer down. You hear the dunk, dunk, dunk first, and then you see below you, about 100 feet away, striding through the streets, walking with his massive two-handed hammer, Obsidian Foot. And as the guards, the two guards in front, the two guards around him, stand to attention, these hammers in their hands, they form a protective ring as Obsidian Foot looks up, shakes his head, and holds aloft the hammer for a moment before slamming it down. Light begins to pulse from the gemstone embedded into the center of the hammer, and a wave of fear washes over all of you. Yes, Bart.
As this is happening, because I want to interrupt him, the amazing storytelling. I hate interrupting a DM. I know that as a DM myself, I hate the pain. I want to interrupt Obsidian Foot because I wanted to see if this would have an effect as a little quick
for sure.
platter test. I would like to share. Dave, what's your stone giant's name?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I've got it here. Etringer, I'm pretty sure, is your stone giant name.
Etringer was Christian.
Etringer is mine.
Etringer is yours.
It sounds familiar because it's Christian.
Utsnir is yours.
Utsnir. I would like to shout as loud as I can. I know this is going to draw Obsidian's Foot eyes towards me. Maybe that'll entice this meeting for all of us. So this final meeting with him. But I'm going to scream, Etringer! I've already forgotten it. Utsnir, King Morn!
The giant immediately turns as you shout this out, its gaze sort of searching, and as it catches eyes with all of you, I'm going to say this is as Obsidian Foot is still approaching, as it catches eyes with all of you, you watch as it squints and says something in giant.
Oh no.
Etuas endum. As it cocks its head. None of you speak giant.
I do speak giant.
Ember, Ember and Threign speak kind of speak
Threign,
giant.
Yeah,
you speak your modern version of giant.
Yeah.
Ember and Threign, it's very similar to the modern giant kin, marked. As it looks over you, as it catches eyes, there's a sudden flash from the stones in your hands and its stone. I'm actually going to get Christian. Can you roll me a D100? This significantly could change things.
Ooh,
Higher is better or lower is better?
You don't know.
Middle is what we're going to get. So 57.
57. Okay.
Just above.
Let's have a little look. 57. Okay. As it connects, all of you feel this pulse run through you. Emotions bridging through the gap, yours to each other and to the giant, and the giant to you. You sense confusion, sorrow, and fear from this giant. And then in the moment it connects with you, this brief light of hope. And as the giant locks eyes with you, that is when Obsidian Foot slams down the hammer and the fear sweeps out. Because you are currently connected to the giant, this effect is now quite a bit worse than what it was about to be, as I described. Harry, Ember, Bart, Lyra, Threign, Niles, I need all of you to please roll me wisdom saving throws.
Everyone has a +4. You're all within 10 feet of me.
Anything? No.
Oh, yikes. I'll roll for Threign. Wisdom saving throw. And yeah, you get a +4 from the...
I'm very glad for that +4.
From the Aura of Protection.
So a +4, so does that 30?
30. That's a natural 20 for Ember. 26. 30. Holy fucking shit, Simon. I think that might be the highest roll we've had in this game so far, 30.
Yeah,
That's got to be up there.
That is pretty
With an
rare.
extra +4, yeah, not bad.
30 is the DC usually for an impossible check, something that is meant to not be capable by a PC.
Ember, 30 is quite a bit higher than what you needed for this roll. Lyra, that's a 9.
Great.
I got a 7.
So don't forget, everyone's is a +4.
Plus
other than
4,
mine.
so that's 13 for Lyra, 21 for Bartholomew, 12
Mine
for...
So that's the one.
Oh, you don't get it.
Mine automatically includes it.
Oh, perfect. So 17 for Bartholomew,
Yep.
12 for Niles, 14 for Threign, 7
Ignore the
for
4. Yeah.
Harry. It's just you just get the 4 straight away. Add a D4 to
Yeah.
it. So yeah, 7
Yeah.
for Harry. Lyra, Harry, Niles, and Threign, all of you basically, apart from Ember and Bartholomew. As this wave of fear washes over you, you watch in front of you as Obsidian Foot shimmers for a moment, and then standing there, you see a stone giant. A familiar-looking stone giant.
The king.
King Hunmar, standing there, resplendent, a crystal crown upon his head, a glow behind him. As he stands there, you hear him speak. Speaking in giant, yet you understand perfectly his words. My child, you have wandered far from the city of Tonn Tennur. Ignore these small folk. Get back to the task I have set you. You must continue the excavations of the city. Restore the glory of the stone giants. This is my command. Should you disobey, I will shatter your body and pawn the ground until you are nothing but shards of stone. All of you see that. Sorry.
Daddy?
Bartholomew and Ember, you don't see that at all. In fact, you don't hear or see anything. You just watch as Obsidian Foot stands there, quite quiet for a moment, hammer in hand, concentrating as his eyes are closed. The stone on the hammer glows brightly. Ember, come on, natural 20 for a 30. I'm going to say, actually, you see both. You see the illusion. You see what he's trying to do as this kind of after image in the background, but you know this illusion, and you see the magic, the weave flowing from the hammer through the heartstone. You see the tendrils of light connecting it to this illusionary form. Yes.
Would I?
Yeah.
Don't
wanna do
I
something too.
have?
Yeah.
I thought I had. I do.
Yeah.
This is magic, isn't
This
it?
is magic for sure. This is magic.
So if I cast Dispel Magic as he's trying to do it, seeing what he's doing,
How what's the range on Dispel Magic? I believe it's 30 feet from memory.
120 feet.
120 feet, don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah.
What level would you like to cast this Dispel Magic at?
I mean, this is so strong that it's convincing a stone giant.
Yeah.
So,
Are we going balls to the wall now? Like, are you wanting to reveal yourself?
would it actually reveal myself by cast? Because he's not looking at me.
I
He's
mean,
looking at the
if
stone
you
giant,
if you
isn't he?
stride forwards, call out eldritch words, and hold up your hand, the magic fails around you. There's a good chance the Duergar standing right next to you is going to know what you're doing. Potentially.
Oh.
It's risky because there's a reason why sorcerers have subtle spell, because usually spells have, like, not even just your words, but like arcane
Verbal,
circles that appear in
semantic,
front of you. If it helps at all, I knew that you would be in a tricky place not being able to do anything. It's very unlikely, but I wanted to try to toss a rock and break his concentration.
Just bend down and pick up a stone.
Yeah, and just lob it at
As you go to pick up a stone from the ground, you feel a hand on your shoulder pull you back as the Duergar that's next to you. He can't see the illusion. He's focused on the prisoners. He doesn't care about what's going on there. As you go to reach down, but do you want to make a stealth check? Make a stealth check. Let's see how sneaky you can be.
Okay, it makes sense. It makes sense that
he's watching the prisoners.
I haven't gotten any good rolls tonight, and we're going to continue at
It's an 8. No good rolls tonight. Hey, that's not true. You got a really good roll to avoid the problem with the wisdom save. That could have been pretty bad. If
true.
all of you had fallen for this, you would have watched as Obsidian Foot turned into a stone giant, turned into Hunmar, and began to order the stone giants. yeah, Ember, as you watch the threads of magic connecting this with a natural 20 and a total of 30, you understand this magic. You feel the connection. And more than that, there's a heartstone powering this.
Ooh.
You feel that heartstone. You push through the wave of fear, letting it wash over you until only you remain as the fear passes through you. As you see the heartstone in the middle of this massive hammer, corrupted, filled with devilish magic. You can smell the sulfur of the 9 hells. You can taste the bitterness, the acrid ash and smoke on the wind of Avernus. But this is fire, Ember. And if there's one thing you understand, it's fire. And as you feel that connection, that momentary connection with the heartstone in the hammer, you also hear a voice speak back through it. Well, isn't this interesting? Looks like someone else has just entered play. Welcome to the game, my Firbolg friend. And I think that is a pretty damn good... yeah, Ember, go. No, Ember, go.
No. You can end it there. That is perfectly fine because at this point, it'd be shocked that I'm hearing a voice.
You recognize the voice,
really...
Ember. You've heard this voice before. When you were spying on Obsidian Foot and the Devil.
Yep.
This is the voice of the Devil. The voice of the Cambion he made the deal with.
Yep.
Whose magic is empowering this stone. Very, very nicely done. So yeah, for Harry, Lyra, Threign, and Niles, you watch as Obsidian Foot grows in size, becomes Elder Hunmar in a moment, and the stone giant turns and begins walking away, bowing to its king before it makes its way back towards the city. Ember, you're the... but you see through the illusion, you're not sure why the stone giant just suddenly does as he's told. Ember, you're the one who sees both. You understand this. Yeah?
I still...
Do you want to try to dispel magic? Go on.
What I would like to do, because I'm not sure. Again, I feel like everyone is going to be looking at that. I'd like to use. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to ruin everything for everyone else.
It's a perfect moment, but it's also so risky.
Yeah.
Because I have hidden step. I was
risk.
hoping to disappear for a second and then cast dispel magic while everyone's not paying attention, so no one sees me. So could I cast...
The one thing
step?
I will say is you can see that the Duergar you're with, the one who brought the slaves, he is not as focused on Obsidian Foot or the giant. He's focused on the slaves. In this moment...
But he was leading us, and I was at the back.
He has stopped and he's turned back to focus on the slaves because he said, "Hey, stop there, stop, fucking stop," and he's turned and looked at you lot and warned you. You get the sense, Ember, that stone giants must occasionally wander in. It's a big fucking distraction. The guards have had to learn, keep their focus on the prisoners during these moments. It looks like this has been a lesson hard learned. The Duergar is watching the prisoners, watching Bart. You've seen him stop Bart from throwing a rock, basically. "Oh, stop that, you fucker. Break your fucking arm."
No, if he's looking then, I can't do it. I really wanted to try and do it without being caught. So, yeah.
But the thing is, Ember, you now know this for future. It doesn't have to be now. This is information. Information is power, and you now understand how Obsidian Foot's power works intimately. With a 30 as your total check, you see the aspects of the weave. You see the threads themselves that are being drawn upon. You do think this is a magical effect that could be disrupted with enough magical energy, a high enough spell slot. You could counter this magic. Yeah.
Love it.
For sure. I think that's a good place to end off that. Do you know what's hilarious? Though neither of those, I had two other cliffhangers in mind. This was not the cliffhanger I thought we were going to end on tonight. This was very different.
Okay.
How am I supposed to... Simon's going to roll a 30 for one of his checks. Like, you can't account for that.
Yeah.
How do you possibly plan for that?
Without the +4, yeah, no way.
Sure.
Yeah. No, there was a completely different one I thought we'd be getting to tonight. Once again, curveball for me. That was very nice, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've all enjoyed tonight's session. It's been wonderful having the lovely Twitch chat here live. And for those of you watching us recorded on YouTube or listening to the podcast, massive thank you. We really appreciate each and every one of you. We are well and truly on our way to hitting 1.5 thousand subscribers on YouTube by the end of the year. If you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, now's a good time to get us across that line. That would be a really cool goal. And there will be some special 1.5k subscriber videos coming out, some special videos to celebrate that. So absolutely. It's not. It's Obsidian. It's Obsidian Foot's foot. We also do have coming up. Obviously, it is now October, which means that we have our Halloween special for Curse of Strahd coming up. That has become a Blinsky special, we call it, referring to our special episodes taking place in Blinsky's toy shop. For those of you who aren't familiar, Curse of Strahd is a very intense horror-themed campaign. We like to break it up with the occasional funny episode that's sort of semi-non-canon, where the characters take control of toy versions of themselves in Blinsky's toy shop. This is a legitimate location in Curse of Strahd. They play as toy versions of themselves doing very low-level chaotic adventures where we have loads of fun. Perfect opportunity for those of you with channel points to spend them on summoning all sorts of random shit. I think last time we had an evil Boppet as one of the villains, which was loads of fun.
That's awesome. It's like Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
It's exactly Tiny. We do like a Curse of Strahd funny episode to kind of break up the darker aspects of that campaign because it can get pretty heavy. So it's nice to have the Blinsky specials. We have a Christmas and Halloween special, and occasionally an Easter special as well. So that's coming up very shortly. We'll be doing that not next week, not the week after, but the week after that. And I think that's all the fun announcements I have to share. Thank you so much. For those of you watching on Twitch, don't go anywhere. We are going to go and read one of our lovely friends of the channel. In this case, I think we shall go and raid. Who are our normal raids on a Wednesday night? Mims is doing some art. I think we'll stay with D&D for tonight. We do love Mims. They are one of the players in the Metanoia Blues campaign, which is really, really fun. If you haven't checked that out, I do recommend it. Let's go and raid Dice Legends with a Z, because that's a cool name.
Ooh, that is cool.
And they're Kiwis. Let's go show them some love, bro. Go and show the Kiwis some love. Let's go get that raid up
these are
and
the
running.
guys with the awesome background, yeah.
Yeah.
They do have, yeah, it's like in a dungeon.
Very cool.
Or like a sandstone castle. Maybe not a dungeon. Let's go start that raid. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe, stay well. We will see you all again very, very soon. But until then, farewell, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.